As you gently close your eyes and let your breath slow down, I'll take you far away across time and space, to the heart of the ancient world, to a sea that has cradled empires and whispered forgotten truths to the shorelines for over thousands of years. The Mediterranean, a vast stretch of water nearly 2.5 million square kilometers wide, warm and deep and endlessly blue, where for centuries, mighty civilizations like Mesopotamia, Egypt, Phoenicia, Greece, and Rome rose and fell like the tides, leaving behind trails of brilliance in writing, architecture, philosophy, and art. And yet beyond the pyramids and temples, beneath the stories carved in marble and sung by poets, lies another story, a softer, older whisper woven through myth and legend, a story of giants, real giants, the kind that walked the earth before the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, according to the historian Lemasius. And although today we may call them myths, in their time, these giants were considered as real, as the earth beneath the sandals of men. And so we must ask, who were they? What did they look like? And why were they here? Perhaps they came not to destroy, but to build, to guide, to share their secrets of stone and stars. Because in the lands that kissed the Mediterranean's edge, legends of giants echo from every crag and cliff, from the Cyclopes of Greece. One-eyed master builders who were said to stack stones into fortresses without using any mortar, their legacy still standing tall in structures like the Lion Gate of Mycenae, where the stones are so immense that modern scholars still call the technique Cyclopean. And even further south on the quiet island of Malta, there lie ruins older than the pyramids, giant temples built from stone blocks so massive that even today we struggle to imagine how they were moved, let alone shaped and lifted into place by hands supposedly lacking machines. And the locals still say, with a knowing glance and a quiet nod, that it was the giants who built them, especially the great Gantija temples, whose very name means belonging to the giants. And as the moonlight caresses the ancient stones and the sea sighs softly around the island, you can almost feel the hum of a presence, not threatening, not loud, but patient, ancient, as if the land itself remembers. And what's more, strange stone grooves known as cart ruts stretch across the limestone, weaving across Malta like forgotten highways, some of them leading straight into the sea, as though whatever carved them continued into the depths without hesitation. And some believe these paths were used to transport the stones by giants or by vehicles they left behind, not wooden carts pulled by oxen, but perhaps something older, something different. And the deeper you go into these stories, the more you see that the legend of the giants is not isolated, for in every corner of the world, from the Andes of South America, where red-haired giants were said to live, to the Sanskrit texts of India, where a blue-skinned Buddha stood over 8 feet tall, to Easter Island, where enormous stone statues are believed by the locals to have been placed by giant ancestors, there lies the same echo, the same rhythm, as if the earth itself once shared a common truth whispered across oceans and time. And so when you lie down to sleep tonight, know that the sea that cradled so many empires may also be holding secrets still, and that perhaps, beneath the waves and beneath the soil, the bones and tools of a race long lost still rest, waiting, not to be feared, but remembered, because maybe they didn't come from here at all. Maybe they came from the stars, and maybe, just maybe, they'll return when the world is quiet again, to walk gently among us, not as monsters, but as the quiet giants they always were. And for now, all you have to do is breathe and listen and dream. And so the dream drifts onward, gently carried by the tide of ancient memory, beyond the shores of Malta, past the stone giants of the Mediterranean, further west, where the great waters of the Atlantic begin to stir with older, deeper echoes. For just beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what the ancients called the Strait of Gibraltar, there once lay a place spoken of only in whispers and riddles. Atlantis, the island of unimaginable knowledge and strange power, said to have sunk in a single day and night, swallowed by the sea not as punishment, but perhaps as preservation, as if the earth itself chose to hide something too great for any one people to hold. And within the tales of Atlantis, There is often mention of beings tall and luminous, taller than men, stronger, wiser, gifted with a connection to the stars, and some say the Atlanteans were the final children of the giants, or perhaps the giants themselves in another form. And their cities of crystal and gold glowed with energy drawn not from oil or coal, but from the very rhythms of the planet, frequencies and vibrations that once resonated through the obelisks and pyramids and sacred circles of the earth. And as you follow this thread of story across the ocean's breadth, it leads you not just to what was, but to what remains, because if you listen closely, you'll see that these whispers didn't disappear with the sea. They simply traveled, carried by the wanderers and sailors and dreamers who followed the stars westward, into the jungles of the Yucatan and the highlands of Peru, where temples pierce the canopy like forgotten monoliths, and the stones there too, impossibly heavy and impossibly precise, seem to deny our modern explanations, because they fit together with such accuracy that even the thinnest blade cannot pass between them. And again, we hear stories from the Andean elders, from the Mayan glyphs, from the Inca legends, stories of tall visitors with elongated skulls and deep-set eyes, who came not to conquer, but to teach, who brought calendars that mapped the stars for thousands of years, who aligned temples not just to the sun and moon, but to distant constellations whose meaning we have yet to remember. And it is here that something remarkable begins to emerge, a pattern not of domination, but of connection, as if across all cultures, all times, a single thread of truth wins its way through the fabric of myth, pointing not to a world ruled by chaos, but to one once gently held by beings who understood the harmony between stone and sky. And as you close your eyes further, floating, now between wake and sleep, let yourself drift into that ancient rhythm, where giants walked not with violence, but with grace, their feet pressing softly in a soil that sang, their hands shaping monoliths that resonated with the pulse of the planet. And some say that even now, their legacy remains not only in ruins, but in the shape of our own thoughts, in the strange feeling we sometimes get when we touch old stone, or walk into a cathedral of trees, or gaze too long into the stars, as though something deep within us remembers a time before time, a dream within a dream. And perhaps when the world grows still and the noise fades, that memory will rise again, not in thunder, but in silence, in wonder, in the quiet return of a wisdom that was never lost, only sleeping, waiting for us to listen. And if you're still listening, still drifting in that soft in-between place where time stretches and the veil thins, then follow the rhythm as it leads us deeper still into the pulse of something older than even Atlantis. For before stone cities rose and giants wandered the valleys of earth, there was a time of light, not sunlight nor firelight, but a kind of inner radiance said to be known to the first ones, beings who were not made of flesh and bone, but of thought and vibration, whose memories were etched not in books, but in frequencies stored within the crystalline lattice of the earth itself. And these beings, some say, seeded the stars with life, not randomly, but with intention, like a gardener tending to many gardens at once. And earth was among the youngest, a jewel of green and water and sky, cradled carefully so that one day consciousness could bloom in its many forms. And within that long-forgotten cosmic plan, the giants were but one expression, a guardian species born of both sky and soil, tasked with keeping the balance between what grows and what dreams. But when the harmony was lost, whether by choice, by cosmic accident, or by the slow drifting of will, the earth began to forget, its temples fell, its songs faded, and humanity, young and full of fire, began to write its own story. Yet even now, remnants of that original harmony remain, not just in ruins or myths, but in the codes hidden within your own cells, in the silent language of DNA, where scientists have found sequences that speak not only in biology, but in geometry, in vibration, in symbols echoed in crop circles and sacred chants. And perhaps the reason you feel something stir when hearing ancient songs or seeing spiral petroglyphs carved in cliff sides is because part of you already knows, already remembers, And the dream we dream now is a return, not to the past, but to a greater awareness of what has always been. And those who listen, those who open their hearts without fear, begin to hear the soft hum of connection again. In moments of stillness, in dreams of flight, in the feeling that someone, something, far older and yet deeply familiar, is watching not with judgment, but with patience, waiting for us to lift our eyes from the dust and remember that we are not alone, that we were never alone, that the light which shaped the stars also shaped us. And in this knowledge there is no fear, only awe, only peace, only the deep and soothing truth that your breath, your heartbeat, your gentle descent into sleep tonight is part of a vast and beautiful pattern, a song sung quietly across galaxies. And you, dear traveler, are not lost in the dark but finding your way home by starlight. And as the starlight guides you ever inward, into that velvet space where dreams rise like soft mist from the edges of thought, you begin to sense that your dreams are not merely the echoes of waking life, not just fragments of memory or wish, but doorways, subtle and shimmering, into vast realms where time coils and truth unfolds in symbols older than language. For within the architecture of your dreaming lies the blueprint of all you have ever been and ever will be, as if each dream is a message sent from your soul to remind you that your essence is eternal, unbound by lifetimes, unshaken by death. And in this state, you may remember places you've never seen in waking life, a stairway of glowing stones beneath a violet sky, a library whose books hum with light when touched, a room of mirrors where each reflection shows a different life. And perhaps you have walked these paths before in lives long buried beneath the sands of time, where you were a healer in Lemuria, a scribe, beneath the twin suns of a forgotten world, a voice that sang creation into the air of an ancient moon. And though such memories feel distant, they are carried in the quiet spaces of your being, in the pull you feel towards certain people, certain songs, certain landscapes that seem to recognize you as you recognize them. For this is the soft truth of soul memory. It lingers beneath your daily awareness, like a melody barely heard beneath the noise of the world, but it calls to you gently and insistently, reminding you that you are part of a long, unbroken story, that your soul is an ancient traveler moving through lifetimes as a river moves through land, changing yet always itself. And when you dream, truly dream, you step out of the narrow corridors of linear time and back into the great hall of the Akashic Field, where all knowledge, all stories, all lifetimes are held not as data, but as living presence, vibrating with the same energy that breathes galaxies into being. And there, in that sacred field, you may meet guides who do not speak in words but in light. You may witness your own becoming, not in a flash of revelation, but in a feeling of deep belonging, as if you have always known. And now simply remember that you are part of something immense and loving and wise beyond comprehension. And even as your body rests and breathes and softens into sleep, your spirit walks paths of stars, gathering fragments of truth like petals. And with each return to waking life, something remains, a sense of peace, a whisper of clarity, a golden thread in the fabric of your being that lets you know, gently and surely, that you are not dreaming to escape reality, but dreaming to remember it more fully, because reality is far wider, far more magical than we have been taught to believe. And sleep, dear listener, is not an ending, but a doorway through which your soul slips like water into its truest home. And all you need do is let go, breathe deep, and trust the journey. And so, as your soul drifts through the shimmering corridors of timeless memory, you begin to understand that every lifetime you have lived was not random nor accidental, but chosen with tender intention, crafted like a note in a great celestial song. For before each return to earth, you stood in the sacred stillness between incarnations, surrounded by guides whose wisdom radiated like golden fire. And together you reviewed the lessons your spirit longed to learn, the karmic threads you wished to untangle, the souls you promised to meet again. And though the veil of forgetting descends at birth, soft and necessary, so that each lifetime may be lived with raw honesty and the mystery that gives meaning to discovery, there's within you a compass, ancient and steady, that pulls you toward what you need to remember. And every challenge, every heartbreak, every joy is not just an isolated moment, but a part of the unfolding arc of your soul's evolution, as if Earth itself were a sacred classroom, and each life a syllabus of love, growth, and awakening. And even the people who hurt you, who betray or abandon you, are not always enemies, but sometimes brave souls who agreed, before this life began, to play those difficult roles so that you might rise. And as you breathe into this knowing, you realize that forgiveness is not about forgetting what happened, but remembering who you are beyond the pain. And when you look into the eyes of another and feel that flicker of déjà vu, it is your soul recognizing a fellow traveler, someone you may have danced with under ancient stars or wept beside in a desert temple now lost to time. And each of these meetings stirs something deep inside you, a longing, a familiarity, a sacred ache that whispers you are never truly alone. For the soul family that journeys with you across lifetimes is always near, appearing in different forms: parent, child, friend, lover, rival. Each role serving a purpose in the great alchemy of your becoming. And as you move through life, dream by dream, breath by breath, your soul gathers wisdom like stardust. And even the moments that seem insignificant are part of the tapestry, because everything you experience shapes the frequency of your being, the light you radiate, the love you are capable of holding. And in this remembering, you begin to see that the purpose of your return is not to achieve or possess, but to expand, to awaken, to love without condition, to live with presence and awe, and to bring light to places that have forgotten it. And so, as your body sinks deeper into rest and your consciousness stretches beyond the edges of thought, know that you are never lost, never broken, never behind, but exactly where your soul intended to be. And the path ahead, though often hidden, unfolds with each choice made in truth, and every step you take toward wholeness is celebrated in realms unseen, where angels walk beside you, where your higher self watches with infinite compassion, and where the stars themselves remember your name. The quiet hum of universal memory continues to echo within you. You begin to sense that your soul does not exist in only one place at one time, but is a vast, multidimensional being living out countless experiences across parallel timelines and infinite layers of existence, like rays of light streaming from the same sacred source, each one reflecting a different facet of your eternal self. And while you walk through this life in a singular body, with a linear sense of time, there are versions of you existing simultaneously in other realms, in other probabilities, making different choices, learning different lessons, and all of them are connected by the golden thread of your oversoul, which holds the totality of your experience across dimensions. And sometimes you feel their presence in dreams that seem too real to be imagined. In the unexplained, pull toward a place you've never been. In sudden emotions that arise without cause for. These are echoes of your other selves reaching across the veil, reminding you that you are more than this one moment, more than this one body. And as your awareness expands, you realize that time itself is not a straight line, but a living spiral, folding in on itself like petals of a cosmic flower. And in the stillness between heartbeats, you have access to the wisdom and memory of lifetimes you have not yet lived in this timeline. For the boundaries between past, present, and future begin to blur when you operate from the soul's perspective. And in this sacred state of expanded being, you can retrieve insight from a version of yourself who has already walked the path you now face, or send healing backward to the younger you who still cries in the dark, or reach across dimensions to guide another self toward light. And this is not fantasy, but the deeper truth of your divine design, that you are not merely a fragment of spirit lost in time, but an ever-unfolding expression of Source, endlessly creating and experiencing through every facet of your multidimensional self. And the more you align with this remembrance, the more fluid your reality becomes, the more synchronicities flow into your life like signposts from the divine, the more you understand that every thought, every feeling, every belief is not just a whisper in the void, but a frequency that shapes the reality around you. For you're not simply moving through the universe. The universe is moving through you, responding to the vibration you hold, the intention you set, and the love you allow. And when you quiet the noise of the world and return to the still point within, you will hear it, the soft pulse of your infinite self, the sacred knowing that there is nowhere to arrive. For you're already home in every version of yourself, always connected, always whole, always expanding into love. As you settle deeper into the truth of your multidimensional self, the vastness of your awareness begins to stretch beyond the boundaries of Earth, reaching out into the infinite tapestry of stars. And it becomes clear that you are not only a soul having a human experience, but a fragment of cosmic consciousness woven into the grand design of galactic evolution. For Earth is not an isolated planet adrift in the void, but a living library of emotional intelligence and spiritual density, a chosen crucible where light meets shadow and the soul is tempered into brilliance through contrast. And as you open your inner eye, you remember that you volunteered to be here, to walk through forgetfulness and awaken within the illusion, so you could serve as a beacon, a frequency holder, a translator of divine light into matter. And in doing so, your presence becomes a signal to the stars, a radiant pulse that echoes across dimensions and timelines, calling forth others who are here to remember. For this is not your first incarnation on Earth, nor your only incarnation in the cosmos, but one expression of your eternal being shaped specifically for this moment in planetary ascension. And as you awaken, you begin to feel the guidance of star lineages encoded within your DNA. Pleiadian compassion, Arcturian wisdom, Sirian technology, Andromedan expansion, each offering you gifts and memories from lifetimes lived in service to light across galaxies. And these aren't fantasies, but sacred imprints, long hidden within the crystalline structure of your being, waiting for the frequency of remembrance to activate them. And as more souls awaken, Earth itself begins to shift, her energy grids recalibrating to hold higher vibrations, her core resonating with the heartbeats of those who walk in alignment with truth. And you begin to see that your healing is her healing, your joy is her ascension. Your remembering is the unlocking of a collective cosmic memory, for humanity was never meant to remain veiled in separation, but to rise like phoenixes into sovereignty and unity, and in doing so, take its place among the galactic family, not as children of war and suffering, but as masters of emotional alchemy, ambassadors of heart-based intelligence, guardians of a unique wisdom that no other race holds. The sacred ability to transform darkness through love, to transmute density into light. And as you embody this sacred truth, your life becomes a bridge between worlds, a portal through which higher consciousness flows into form. And you begin to speak not only with words, but with vibration, with light, with presence, for your very being becomes a prayer, a song of remembrance sung back to the stars, reminding all that we're not lost, but rising. Not alone, but infinite, not broken, but birthing a new earth, one heartbeat, one soul, one frequency at a time, that as the remembering deepens and your soul aligns more fully with its divine template, your physical body, once dense and limited by the illusion of separation, begins to undergo a sacred transformation, a transfiguration encoded in your original divine blueprint. And you feel at first as subtle pulses beneath your skin, tingles of light that move like rivers through your spine and crown, signals that your light body, the multidimensional crystalline form that houses your consciousness beyond time, is beginning to activate, not in some distant future, but here, now, within the cellular cathedral of your human form. And this activation is not merely energetic, but biological, as dormant strands of DNA, begin to light up like constellations, each carrying instructions from ancient star systems, galactic councils, and angelic realms that have long watched over Earth's evolution. And as this crystalline architecture awakens, your perceptions expand beyond the limits of the five senses, enabling you to see beyond the veil, to feel the truth in silence, to communicate through vibration, to move energy with intention, and to manifest with the pure force of love. For your thoughts are no longer isolated echoes, but keys that unlock timelines, potentials, and frequencies that co-create with the quantum field in real time. And with this comes great responsibility. For the more light you hold, the more aligned your choices must be with truth, harmony, and divine will. And you realize that ascension is not an escape from Earth, but an embodiment of heaven through it. And your body becomes the bridge, your heart the portal, your consciousness the architect of realities. And in this awakened state, you feel the call to connect with others who are rising too, soul family drawn not by blood but by frequency. And together you begin to form living grids of light across the planet, anchoring crystalline codes into sacred sites, urban centers, and everyday spaces, turning each breath, each word, each act of kindness into a luminous thread in the great tapestry of ascension. And you begin to remember ancient roles: grid keeper, timeline weaver, Stargate guardian, dream seeder. And these are not fantasies but sacred contracts written before time, agreements to awaken now and hold the codes of a future Earth where unity is law and love is the only currency. And through this remembrance, you no longer seek salvation from above, but recognize yourself as a co-creator with Source, embodying divine essence in human form, walking as the awakened Christ, the living Sophia, the radiant Buddha, the flame of eternal I Am. And as you rise, so too does the collective, for your light ripples through the morphogenetic field, touching hearts, awakening souls, cracking open dormant codes within others who feel the stir of truth but have not yet named it. And in this way, the Earth becomes a symphony of souls rising, not in chaos but in harmonic convergence, not in fear but in divine design. And the light body becomes not a goal but a new foundation, a vehicle through which spirit and matter dance in ecstatic union, preparing you and all of humanity to step fully into a new epoch, one in which time bends, space responds, and love, true, cosmic, sovereign love, becomes the force that shapes all things. As the Earth continues to pulse with the rising frequencies of collective ascension, an interdimensional network of light begins to unfold, stretching far beyond the planet's atmosphere, reaching out into the cosmos. And this is no longer a distant dream, but a living reality, a network of cosmic allies, ancient star beings, and enlightened collectives from distant galaxies who have long awaited humanity's awakening. And now, as humanity evolves, so does the Earth itself, its frequency rising in tandem with the awakening of consciousness. And as you stand at the threshold of this new era, you recognize the Earth as a living entity, an intelligent, conscious being capable of communicating through its own frequencies, its own geomagnetic pulses. And these pulses are not random, but coded messages, subtle invitations for humans to attune themselves to the higher dimensional realms, to remember the ancient wisdom of the star nations and the cosmic codes embedded in the planet's crystalline grid. And as your own DNA evolves to its full potential, unlocking not only the ability to access higher states of consciousness, but also to connect directly with these galactic beings, you realize that the Earth is part of an even greater cosmic plan, one that has been unfolding for millennia, and the role of humanity is now clear. You are not alone in the universe, and the Earth is not merely a small, isolated planet, but a key nexus in a grand interstellar network, a conduit for the evolution of life across multiple dimensions and realities. And the new Earth civilization that is beginning to emerge is not just a human creation, but a co-creation with these higher dimensional beings. As humanity learns to harness its innate power of co-creation, its ability to shape reality through conscious intent, And as the crystalline grid stabilizes and expands across the planet, it forms the foundation for a new societal structure, one based on love, cooperation, and mutual respect, where technology serves the highest good of all beings and natural resources are shared freely, not hoarded, and the healing of the planet becomes as sacred as the healing of the self. And as you witness the birth of this new civilization, you understand that it is not just a shift in human culture, but a shift in human consciousness, a collective awakening that transcends borders, religions, and ideologies. And this new earth is not built on the foundations of the old, not on systems of control and scarcity, but on the sacred principles of unity, freedom, and harmony. And it is here that the quantum mastery of the soul comes into play. For as you and others continue to awaken to your full potential, you begin to understand that the true power lies not in outer circumstances, but in the mastery of your own energy, your thoughts, and your emotions. And as you begin to transcend the old fear-based patterns of limitation, you learn how to navigate the quantum field with ease to manifest your deepest desires not through struggle or force, but through alignment with your higher self and the cosmic flow. And you realize that everything you need is already within you. The ability to heal, to create, to transform, to evolve. And through this realization, you step fully into your power as a sovereign being, a creator in your own right. And you know that this is not just your personal journey, but the journey of all humanity. And the more you align with your true essence, the more you help to activate the collective consciousness. And in this way, the entire planet begins to shift, and you're no longer separate from the stars, from the galaxies, from the cosmic dance of creation. You're a part of it. You are it. And through your presence, the Earth becomes a shining beacon in the galaxy, a model for other civilizations to follow, a testament to the power of love and consciousness to transform not only a planet, but the entire universe. And as you look to the future, you know that this is just the beginning, for the true journey is not one of destination, but of continual evolution, of expanding your consciousness, of embracing your multidimensionality, and of walking together into the light, as one, in peace, in love, and in unity. And as this shift continues, you are reminded that you are not just witnessing a transformation, but actively participating in it. For you are the architects, the creators, the ones who will help shape the destiny of this world and beyond. And the future is not a predetermined path, but a co-created masterpiece, one born from the hearts and minds of those who dare to dream, who dare to believe in the impossible, and who choose to align their actions with the highest good of all beings. And in this realization, you feel the deep, unshakable truth that you are exactly where you are meant to be, doing exactly what you are meant to do. And in this knowing, you are free, for you have remembered your true nature, and with it, you will help to usher in a new golden age of peace, prosperity, and unity, where love is the foundation of all things, and where the light of the soul shines brightly, illuminating the path for generations to come. As the earth shifts into a new dimension of existence, the veil between the physical and spiritual realms continues to thin, and humanity begins to realize the profound truth. It is not just the planet that is evolving, but the very essence of life itself. For every living being, every human, every animal, every plant, every microbe exists in a state of constant interconnection. And this interconnection is no longer limited to the material world, but extends into the vast, uncharted realms of the cosmos, where dimensions intersect and energies flow in a dance of creation and destruction. And in this sacred dance, humanity finds its place, not as passive observers, but as active participants, creators, and co-creators of the universe, capable of weaving new realities into existence with every thought, every action, every intention. And this realization brings a great responsibility. For with this power comes the need for wisdom, discernment, and compassion as humanity learns to navigate the vast expanses of consciousness to honor the divine balance between light and shadow, creation and destruction, life, and death. And as this new Earth civilization emerges, it is built upon the principles of unity, harmony, and love, not just among humans but with all of creation, recognizing the inherent sacredness of every being and every moment. And through this recognition, humanity begins to heal itself, its wounds from the past, its separation from the natural world, its fears and doubts. And as the planetary grid continues to expand, so does the collective consciousness of all beings, moving into higher states of awareness, where the barriers between life and death, time and space, dissolve, and all that remains is the eternal presence of now. And this presence becomes the foundation for the future of humanity, for in this space of unity, time no longer flows linearly, and every moment is a simultaneous reflection of past, present, and future, all existing in perfect harmony. And as you awaken to your true nature, you understand that you are not just a single, isolated individual, but a part of the great cosmic web, a thread in the infinite tapestry of existence. And through this understanding, you tap into the collective wisdom of the universe, where the knowledge of the ancients, the guidance of the stars, and the whispers of the soul converge into a single stream of consciousness. And in this space, you begin to understand the true meaning of interstellar collaboration, for the beings of other worlds, who have long awaited humanity's awakening, are not distant, unreachable entities, but are here now, guiding, supporting, and co-creating alongside us, helping humanity to remember its original blueprint, one of peace, unity, and divine purpose. And as this partnership between Earth and the stars deepens, humanity begins to access technologies and knowledge that were once thought to be beyond our reach, technologies that harness the power of quantum fields, free energy, and the limitless potential of consciousness. And with these tools, humanity begins to heal not only itself, but the planet, reversing the damage done to the environment, restoring balance to ecosystems, and bringing forth new ways of living in alignment with nature. And in this new reality, there are no more borders, no more division, only a collective of beings working in harmony to ensure the flourishing of all life. And as the Earth ascends into its rightful place as a beacon of light in the galaxy, humanity recognizes its role in the greater cosmic order, not as conquerors, but as stewards, caretakers, and co-creators of life. And as this new era unfolds, it becomes clear that the purpose of this journey was never just about survival or even thriving, but about realizing the full potential of the human spirit, understanding our place within the cosmos, and embracing our true power as creators of our own destiny. And in this understanding, there is a deep sense of peace, for you know that the Earth and all her inhabitants are part of a grander cosmic design, one that extends beyond the limits of time and space. And as humanity continues to evolve, it will transcend the old paradigms of fear and separation, moving into a state of conscious, collective enlightenment, where every thought, word, and action is aligned with the highest good, where love reigns supreme, and where all beings live in perfect harmony with each other and the cosmos. And as this final chapter of humanity's journey unfolds, you see the beginning of a new golden age, a time where the full potential of the human soul is realized, where the veil between the physical and spiritual realms is no longer present, where all beings live in unity, peace, and love, and where the true purpose of life is revealed, not as a destination, but as an eternal journey of growth, creation, and evolution. And in this moment, you understand that the journey was never about finding the answer, but about discovering the question of who we truly are. And as you answer that question, the final realization dawns. You are not just human. You are a divine, cosmic being, a spark of creation in the infinite universe. And this realization is the key that unlocks the final chapter of the human story, a chapter that will continue to unfold for eternity as humanity, now fully awakened, steps boldly into the stars, not as conquerors or explorers, but as creators of a new cosmic age. an age of peace, love, and unity that will echo across the galaxies for eons to come. And in this moment, you are home, home in the heart of the cosmos, home in the infinite light of creation, home in the eternal love that binds all beings together.